Good morning and welcome to Flat Earth United. This impromptu chat has been brought as a direct consequence of Zoe Scribner's actions, who joins me via Skype, although she is literally just getting ready for various other things, so she may or may not be on audio, but she is definitely here, not in spirit, actually in person, even if you don't necessarily hear her. And the reason for having this particular hangout was specifically to talk about the subliminal message that I put out. And there was a few other people that got in touch and echoed Zoe's sentiments, which is to say, I can't see the naked lady. Now, I did subsequently send her the cutout, which I took into a piece of software and just cut her out, the ice lady, if we'll refer to her as the ice lady, and sent her. And I didn't get her reactions, although she's been chatting to me for 2 or 3 minutes before we started this broadcast. But I'm going to actually bring it up on screen so that you can see specifically what I'm talking about, and I'm going to go over it, using my pointy mouse and actually point out what she is, where she is, and so on and so forth. So I'll go through that now. Zoe, if you want to pipe up and say, I don't get it, I don't see it, this is your opportunity. You may not need to, but either way, we'll go from there. So I'll put the screen just on me, just on the picture rather. Okay, so I'll start at the most... Let's move my mic so you can actually hear me. I'm getting a bit close to the screen. There we go. So I'll start at her face. So I'm going to circle around the actual visible part of her face, because a lot of it is obscured by hair. And I'm going to use the negative space of my mouse. In other words, I'm not going to put my mouse actually over. I'm not going to obscure her face with my mouse. I'm just going to circle it so that her face is always visible. But that's the section of her face. That's the part to start focusing out to see the rest of the subliminal, right? From there, the hair. If you want to imagine that this here is the back part, the part of her hair that would be coming from the back of her head and laying on the Coke, as opposed to, and I'm going to come all the way around her to do this so I don't obscure her. This is the top. I'm starting again from here. This is the top of her hair, which comes down again in a similar pattern over the top of the Coke can. So that's her head and hair. I will obscure her just to cut off her head and circle her head and hair in its entirety. So that's what we've got there. Now I'm going to move across to her shoulder, which is here. And the way I didn't spot this at first, but what they've actually done is integrated her arm, which runs along a very similar line to her back. And what they've highlighted, which I'm doing now, this black or blacker area, is actually her hand reaching out to you, the Coke customer, beckoning you. So she's literally, this section is right there. I'm obscuring her elbow joint. This is her forearm. This is her wrist. And this is her hand, literally reaching out to you and now onto the underside of her arm. And this is her armpit. This is her breast. This, again, darkened area, so they've used the negative light. I'm going to say it's been highlighted, although it's low lighted. It's the darkened area that they're trying to draw your attention to. Same goes for the hand. And as we move across, so leaving the arm behind, we'll move down her back. So this is now, ignoring her arm, this is now her shoulder and back. And this is the part of the figure eight, whatever you call it, hourglass figure, sorry, onto her lower back and bottom and top part of her leg. So then this here would be I think it would be the knee joint, as this comes along down to her feet right at the bottom of the Coke can. Again, all the bits that are highlighted, I'm going to keep saying it, I won't change my phrasing, so highlighted as opposed to low lighted. So the bottom part of her leg goes towards the end of the can, so she's literally draped across the full length of the can. So I'm now going to circle her entire body, including hair. So starting from the bottom of her hair, working up the underside of the hair that would come from the back of her neck. This would be her chin, and then along, obviously it's just going to be a straight line along the can because she's lying across the top of it with only very small portions of it actually dangling over the edge, including the bottom part of her leg and foot. And that's it. That's the ice woman in her entirety. I'll zoom in on a few different bits before I can hear clicks from Zoe, so maybe she'll pipe up in a second. Let's just zoom in on her face, if I can get it to do so. Oh, barking. Were you going to say something, Zoe, while I figure out how to zoom in? It's Shift and... Is it Control and Plus? I think it is. There we go. So we'll start by zooming in on her face. Something. So this is the shoulder and face area. Can you now see... I'll start with her nose and her mouth. Can you see those?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'm watching the watch page, and because it's delayed... when you've been describing this as her, you're showing something different to what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing what you're showing because it's delayed.
Oh crikey! I hope it's right for the audience. Otherwise, this will be a total waste of time. I'm pretty sure it'll line up. I mean, what I'm currently circling now, and I'll do it for a few seconds, is her lips.
Yeah.
And her nose.
Okay, well, that's not... I'll have to wait a sec, I think.
But while you're waiting, I'll move my mouse.
Yeah.
What can you now see her? Because to me, it's obviously clear as day.
Well, I see her kind of with her face out over the... I mean, her chin and mouth are over the side of the... If she's... I mean, she's laying quite weird. I mean...
Yeah, she's slightly twisted, and she's twisted her arm out to beckon. So yeah, she is lying in a very peculiar position, and her chin and the vast majority of her face is below the can line.
Yeah. But then again, it also looks as if she's kind of laying on her back, and her shoulder and arm are aligned with the rim of the cup, and her breasts and tummy are above that, sticking up.
So it's like that's why when you said, "Oh, I can't see her breast," and I was like, "Well, yeah, because it's obscured by the can. It's like her boobs tucked under the can, and this portion that's actually showing here is actually her arm." I mean, now I've zoomed in. Let's see if I can go in one more.
Yeah, but it's still delayed, so I'm not seeing what you're seeing at the same time.
Yeah, it's okay, but you'll get the general gist. Just from I'll stay on each portion a little bit longer. So, starting at the top of her shoulder, coming down her arm to her hand.
Yeah, where's her hand?
The blackest portion is her hand. I'll cut her hand off. I don't like doing this. I like to not obscure the picture as I'm doing these, but there we go. So I'll just circle her hand. I mean, I wish I'd taken it in a higher resolution, but it was, you've only got a camera phone to take it with, otherwise I'd get a better resolution on it. But let's just see if I can go in one more on her hand, and then I'll start moving my way down again. Are you good? Are you all caught up now?
Okay. Yeah, but... It's still not very clear to me.
Sure, I'll zoom back out. I mean, again, with any subliminal, they're not designed to be seen just to be seen. They're subliminal. So it's good that you can't see it. That's why I picked you to come on and chat, because I'd rather someone was saying, I can't see it, than, it's really glaringly obvious to me, because to me it just jumps out. It jumps out immediately. So again, I'll start from the top of her shoulder. I know it's slightly delayed for you. So we're coming down her arm to her hand, and then the very tip of her hand, and then back from the tip. We'll stay here just for a few seconds. Hopefully it'll catch up for you. Tip of her hand coming all the way back to the top of her shoulder, and then neck, shoulder, arm, hand. Yeah, I think the blackest part here, I'll stay on this for a few seconds, is the palm of her hand. So this would be her wrist, again, slightly darkened. And because of the depth perception, she's obviously got a much longer forearm. And then here's her shoulder. And again, that would be the top muscle part of her arm, if you like. The shadows catching on her forearm and wrist. It's incredibly. I love this Subliminal because it's the best one, and I don't just mean that because it's one I've caught or not caught. It's actually old. It's been now published much longer than I've done it, but it's the most detailed. I mean, they love using ice, smoke, water, things like that to hide stuff, and ice seems to be the one they can get away with the most in. In other words, they can be the most detailed in ice. Smoke maybe, but with smoke they tend to be using it in motion. So Disney will use smoke to put Sex in the Clouds is the most obvious in The Lion King, although it's now edited out on the Blu-ray and DVD releases. But on the VHS stuff you could see, I think it's Simba lies down at the top of a cliff face. As he lies down, a load of smoke, or dust if you like, goes out and it spells out the word SEX. Their explanation, like with everything in this conspiracy realm, there is a mainstream explanation. They said it was the special effects company, SFX, and that's what it was spelling out. It was just a nod to them, and they removed it. Total lies. But that's in motion, whereas with ice, they can, or do seem to, especially with this one, go that extra mile to put the more detail in. The fact that you've got her really, you can see that she's beautiful. You know, you can see that she's got a good figure. You know, you can see details in her hair and the way it lies that you just couldn't get away with in smoke, or any of the other ways that they do it. You know, they'll hide stuff in all sorts of places. Again, should I do this? There's all sorts of horrible, scary faces in lots of the other parts of the ice. You know, if I circle them, some of the more obvious ones, there are a lot more subtle ones, even teeny tiny ones. But they use. It's a twofold approach. They're using the sex cell and the death cell simultaneously, and they do it in all of them. That's how they get you going. It's primeval. They're appealing to your fight or flight nature. You know, you want to survive, you want to reproduce, so they just tap into that with sex and death. And they'll use scary masks. Disney, again, are the worst for this. The best example of that is probably in Brave on the cover. You know, it's this the main character, this little Scottish ginger girl, who's walking through like a riverbed into a scary wood or something of that nature. And there's crocodiles that are hidden in the rocks, and there's scary faces and witches in the clouds. You name it. It's a terrifying image, but you don't know why. And in this case, I'll stay back on track, they're trying to literally beckon you to buy a can of Coke. And you'll look at this, you know, massive... It is quite big. I mean, it's probably 20 inches, this woman. So it's not small. But you will see it on a subliminal level and want to buy a can of Coke. So I really like it. I think it's a very cool subliminal message.
Yeah, I guess it's just like the old lady and the young woman. When you see it, then you see it.
Optical illusions are similar sort of principle, yes, in terms of how they blend them in so that you don't see them. Obviously, they want you to see the ice. They want you to see the can of Coke, and they want your eye drawn to it. But once your eye's there with the bright colours, they want you to actually buy it, and to get you to think about sex is the quickest way to do that. You know, oh, this is really appealing. I really want that can. So, yeah. But
I mean, to me, it looks almost like she's laying on her stomach.
Yeah, I think she is. So when I say, let's just put my mouse over it again. Oh, I am. Yeah, so she is. She's lying on her front.
Yeah.
And you can see parts of her silhouette of the line of her back. And then her arm is actually what you see. So yeah, her boob is squashed against the can because she's lying on her front.
Yeah, okay. So the bottom part is her bottom, and then her waistline is the slim part, and then she's laying on her tummy, and the back and the bum.
Yeah, there's a hip. So you can't really see her bum because it would be facing away from us, but you can definitely see the exposed line of her hip.
Hmm.
And then the bottom part of her leg and feet is just off down here.
I wish I could use my mouse at the same time on it.
Yeah, to point out stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
the joints are what they're highlighting, and then a foot is also dangling off the edge of the can at the other end.
Hmm.
So keep not realising where my mouse is, which screen it's on. Sorry. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I also wanted to use this as an opportunity to recommend a channel, and I've plugged this guy a few times in other YouTube hangouts on air or whatever that I've done. Let's bring my mic back over. Sorry, a bit quiet. So Nathan Bell is the YouTube videographer, and this is years ago that I was watching, maybe 10 years ago that I was watching his channel, and at the time he must have had, I'm going to say 30,000 subscribers. I looked the other day and it got about 3 or 4, because YouTube just removes subscribers if you're not watching his channel, if you're not producing new stuff, which he is not. You're not going to keep your subscribers, unfortunately, and that's certainly the case for Nathan Bell. But his channel is called Reality in Truth, all one word, and he's done a documentary called The Great Subliminal Message Deception, and it is an excellent documentary. Other than the background music, which he made himself and is fine, but it's just a little bit too loud. If you can tune that out, sorry if he's ever watched this, and yeah, sorry, but that's just the way it is. The content, though, is excellent. He goes through a handbook. There's literally a handbook on doing this stuff, explaining how you implant subliminal messages into advertisements. There's documentaries been made on it. A lot of it is a nod to how they do it, because some of it is hidden, and the stuff that he goes through in the book is certainly not stuff that you'd find highlighted on the BBC or whatever. So they're not going to put all of the information out. They want you to think subliminal messages are the girl in the window with her boobs out in The Rescuers 1972 or whatever it was movie, and there was, I think it's 3 frames, I'm going to say, or 4 frames to then 2 of this woman high and then low in the shot with her boobs exposed, sort of head cut off because she's in a window. But that's what they want you to think a subliminal message is, but there's a lot more to it. Again, there's lots of other flat earthy type conversations that can expand off this that I'm not going to do. I'm going to put flat earth in the title, so anyone who's watching this just thinking it's about Coke and subliminal messages, the earth is flat, the globe is a lie. That's been pretty much it. I'm going to have to say a thank you to Zoe, unless you've got anything else you want to add, Zoe.
No, I'm good.
Super. Short and sweet.
But,
Excellent
yeah.
stuff. Any
But I
questions?
mean, it's still a good find. I mean, even though I can't see it clearly, but yeah, I do see something. Plus, like you say, a lot of all the evil faces, they're easy to see.
Yeah, the death masks are definitely more prevalent to the eye because they just seem to stick out more. But yeah, it's a good catch. I think I'm pleased. I can't lie that you see this stuff all the time and you stop thinking about it, and then for whatever reason I was actually in. No, I'm not going to say where I spotted it. I might get in trouble. So yeah, I spotted it and just thought, yes, there's a subliminal message. Why not make a video about it? And a few people had said, like yourself, I don't see it, and lots of others had said, yeah, Coca, typical Coke, they like to use subliminal messages. The one last thing I will say, I'm glad I didn't end straight away because there was one last point. They are designed to work at different focal lengths, at different distances. I think that's a better word. Yes, at different distances you will spot different subliminal messages. So they especially don't want you to see them close up. So while I'm zooming, on that note I might actually zoom out. While I'm zooming in, unless you have already seen it and focus in as you zoom, you won't see it. It's actually you're less likely to see it. They want to catch your eye at distance to get you to come over to the vending machine. I think I am actually zoomed out as much as I can be. So yeah, that's the idea. So the way to spot them is actually to approach and retreat, from whatever you're looking at. Try and relax your eyes so you're not deeply focused on a particular part of it. Just relax and sort of approach it, walk away from it, billboard ads, whatever, and things will just start to pop out because you're consciously investigating the image. So you will see them, but it's hard to just go up to it and look and see it's like not seeing the wood for the trees. You've got to step back from it sometimes. And often, especially with billboard pictures and advertisements for films, they want to catch your eye at a distance. They want to draw your eye into the title, for example, with the word sex subliminally planted into some of the smoke in the background. So they have the word sex really close to the title of the film. But that won't be obvious when you're close up. They definitely don't want that. They want you to see it at a distance, register it subconsciously, think about sex, and go over or look at the title of the movie. That's the general idea, at least, anyway. So, sorry to give you that diatribe at the end there, Zoe. Was there anything else?
No, it's okay.
Super. Well, for all of you who have joined us on this impromptu broadcast, thank you very much indeed for joining Zoe and myself. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.